All right, so we're starting on here first. I'm going to let's send these questions over to. So I just added the live stream right now. The reason why I had to do it is because if we go after 15 minutes, then I'd have to reset up the live stream. But we are streaming live right now, and I'm just going to send these questions over to Gmail. In the meantime, what's up, everybody who is tuning in right now? We already got a few questions in here. All right, guys, one quick second. I'm just gonna send these other questions from Instagram over to my email, so that way we have these other questions as well. So we got a lot of questions in, and we want to make sure that we're able to get to as many of these as possible while we're on here, as well as some of the live questions. Okay, cool. Boom. All right. All right. Remember, as soon as we hop on Instagram, just you turn the volumes down on your phone. What's going on? What's going on? I see more people hopping in the chat from LinkedIn and YouTube. Appreciate y'all's patience. Said excited to see more of Octaply. Thanks for being here, George. Appreciate that, man. Now I just have to pull up questions I just sent myself. Y'all, we got a lot of questions in. A lot of these questions are from Instagram as well. I'm just making sure that I'm jumping over into these questions that we got from Instagram, so that way we can go.
It says live video ended on IG.
Oh, I haven't started the live yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So okay, cool. All right, boom. Just making sure I have these questions. I don't have my monitor up here, so I'm just making sure I got these questions from Instagram pulled up. Well. Okay, cool. All right, bet. All right. I'm going to go ahead and Octaply Q&A. All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. Talking about Octaply. So we're already streaming over here on LinkedIn and YouTube. I got my co-founders that are about to hop on with us, so we can chop it up about the updates with Octaply. Answering your questions. We got a lot of pre-submitted questions already. And I am on right now on YouTube and LinkedIn with my co-founders. And so I'm going to go ahead and send y'all. I'm going to send y'all the request to join if y'all haven't sent it yet. All right, sent one to Chris, one to Tori. All right, boom. I need to use a different filter. This filter got me there.
There we go.
Filter got me looking a little sus. All right, cool. So we got a lot of good questions coming in. Because those of y'all that are on LinkedIn and on YouTube have been so patient, I do actually want to honor y'all by us kind of getting to your questions first, and then we're going to get to the pre-submitted questions. Everybody that is tuning in on Instagram, first off, thank y'all for being here. Secondly, please let us know if there's a lot of echoing or a lot of feedback. Somebody said, "Give it the kid." I think they might be talking about you, so I'm not sure. Let me talk about
me.
Y'all let us know if there's a lot of echo or a lot of feedback, because we want to make sure that this is clear for y'all. Aside from that, put your questions down in the question box below. We're going to try to get to as many of these questions as possible while we have Tori and Chris here, because they are even busier than I am, and I'm pretty busy. So that being said, first we're going to get to some of these questions from those of y'all that have been waiting on YouTube and LinkedIn. All right, so first question that I see in here is from Tailor Made Inc. Question is, after payment and setup, how soon does Octaply begin applying to jobs for you?
The next day or same day, depending on what time zone you're in. If you're on Eastern time and you sign up before, I think, 11 a.m., it'll apply same day. But next day for sure.
Yeah. Good question, simple answer. All right. Next question from Tailor Made Inc. They're asking, how does each tier differ from one another? So we can partially answer this, but the tiers we're going to constantly be adding things to tiers in the future. But Chris, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, so we're constantly developing, adding new features, even in our dev environments and testing them. We haven't discerned between which features we're going to give to either the next tier or also going to give some to just our early adopters, even if they are still in the first tier. So we're still putting together plans on our end of how we're going to split them up. But I can definitely say that we do have plans to give some to the early adopters that will also that will be exclusives to the next tier when they come out. But to give you guys just like a hint of things that we do have coming, at least for the second and third tiers, is the automatic interview scheduling. So it'll actually go through emails that will look for a specific tag in that email so that the AI won't be responding to personal emails or things that aren't congruent with the job, but it'll actually go back and forth and talk with the recruiter. It will have access to your Calendly, and then it will use that to discern between what time blocks you have open, and then use that to schedule a time with the recruiter after the conversation's been going pretty good.
Yeah, good stuff. Go ahead. So
I don't want to give away the other features just yet.
We'll
wait on the other ones.
Because I like the idea of us being able to announce different features that we're dropping every single week. That being said, some of the features that we just rolled out this week that we're currently closing out right now, one of those features that we just released is the ability to be able to choose on a more granular level the type of companies that Octaply is applying to for you. So that meaning that you're able to choose the company size. So the value of that is that now you can go and look at sizes of companies that might be along the lines of the size of a startup. Or of course, the value there is that if you're able to get in on a company like that, now you're able to grow much more quickly, get promoted more quickly, get more salary, get equity within the company. That's how you start getting those $1 million income just from working at a startup company after a few years once the company goes public or IPOs. Or you can choose if you want to work at more of a mid-size or even enterprise type of company, which there's a lot of value in that also. Again, just determining specifically choose what size company Octaply is applying to for you. Maybe you're somebody with a lot of experience and you only want to work at a larger type of company, or you're someone with very little experience and you feel more comfortable trying to get in on a smaller company or a startup. Octaply you can specify it applying to those companies as well as the ratings of the companies. And what else am I missing, Chris? There's something else. If it's because we already have the remote. So Octaply also can choose if it's companies that can apply to companies that are remote work or companies that are within your specific city.
Yeah. So the rating, the size, and then that remote flag.
There's another feature that was released this week for Octaply, specifically for Octaply users, is also the feature to pause and restart the application bot. Chris, can you speak to the value of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's situations where, let's say that I'm already working a six-figure tech job and I'm just using this in the background to keep my options open. So this is really good so that someone doesn't have to cancel their subscription to kind of pause the bot and kind of unpause it whenever they would want or deem necessary. but also just because of the amount of attention that someone could get from this type of like job application method. You may get 4 or 5 interviews within a week and have so many emails that you can't keep up with them. So this would be able to kind of stop that inflow. And then very common within tech as well is a lot of recruiters actually just start calling you. So you're already getting a lot of calls, you're overwhelmed, you're able to just pause it for a second, catch up, and then resume it when you're ready.
Solid. All right. Now we are, what's going on, Michael? Soreko, yeah, if I was pronouncing that correctly, Soreko, how's everybody feeling good? Good stuff. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get to these questions that we have on Instagram now. So, I'm going to Instagram. Thank y'all for being patient. All right. So, somebody said how many people have landed jobs using Octaply so far. So, the majority of the audience of people that are using Octaply right now are people that are people that are getting in tech. So they're using Octaply to apply to tech roles for them. That being said, the average amount of interviews for a tech company is 4 to 5 interviews. So it will take, like, anyone who's even getting like a job in tech, it would still take them about 4 to 5 interviews before they're landing a job. That being said, Octopi just launched last weekend. 4 to 5 interviews don't typically happen within 1 week. So currently, no one's had 4 to 5 interviews in the past week to land a job through Octopi. Good question, though. Good question. All right, next question is, do you recommend starting Octopi after someone finishes a boot camp or during? My answer would be during the boot camp. I would say somewhere around the halfway point of the boot camp, for the same reason that I usually tell people to start applying. So before Octopi, I was already telling people, hey, the halfway point of the boot camp is when you should start like aggressively applying to get jobs in tech. That being said, now that Octopi is here, and now you can focus on the boot camp, focus on building up those certifications, your skill sets. You can focus on networking on LinkedIn, networking at in-person tech events, or whatever industry type of events, whatever industry that you're into. You can focus on those things while Octopi is actually getting those interviews for you. So yeah, definitely during the boot camp and not after. But if you already finished the boot camp, definitely start using Octopi now, so Octopi can go ahead and start getting those interviews for you. Chris, is there anything you want to add? Chris or Tori, is there anything y'all wanted to add or take away from that?
On my end, I think it's just important to understand that, like you said, Octopi is a tool that can be used before, during, or after the bootcamp process. I keep iterating that this is an assistive tool. So if you want to get into a career field with little to no experience and literal no experience and find those jobs that are paying 80, 90, 100, 120, 150 and upwards a year, I mean, this is the perfect tool to use.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, y'all. Those of y'all that are on Instagram, feel free to continue dropping more questions. In the meantime, we're going to shift over and look at some of the questions that we have from the LinkedIn YouTube community that's tuning in. So let me actually come over here. Mm-hmm. All right, so George Blackman asked, he says, I assume there was a trial run before launch. What success did you see in your participants? So the success, I guess I can answer first. So yeah, we definitely had a trial, not necessarily a trial run. I wouldn't call it a trial run, but we did have a test group of users, of several dozen users that were using Octopi before we launched. And yeah, the success that we saw was that Octopi was doing what it's supposed to do, where it was applying to roles for people. And people were actually, even some of our friends that were using Octopi for that, the test group, some of them actually had to contact me this week and ask us to like basically kind of shut it off for them because they already have jobs, but they were getting like call, like people were reaching out to them to set them up on interviews. So that's definitely some good kind of testimonial stuff right there, that even within like the first like 3 weeks, some of those people that were in test groups, not only were we seeing Octopi immediately the first day they signed up, not only did we see immediately Octopi was applying to jobs for them, but even in this past week, some of them had to contact me and say, hey, Cyrus, can you kind of take me out of the test group now, because I have companies that are reaching out to me. So, which I think was pretty funny that we completely forgot that we still had them as users with Octaply. But that was definitely a pretty good testimony with that for them as participants. Tori, Chris, what else? I guess some of y'all could think of during the test group. I guess what are some pieces I guess you would like to mention that we saw with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So during the testing and build phase, we ran regression testing with over 1,000 different accounts and allowed them to apply for jobs. And also, we did a lot of research on how HR systems actually work, so that we could build in the metrics that we knew that those systems were looking for to help people get to the front of those audiences. So even though that outside of the live test group that we did do before launch, even before that, this is a unique scenario within the software that we were able to use test accounts. And I just say test accounts because they weren't belonging to a real person, but they were resumes and within different job fields and different job domains. And we were having a high success, not only for just the application rate, but a high success for the keyword pull rate and being able to get pulled by HR and actually getting reach out and adoption from that facet. I think Tori's.
All right, wonderful. So next question, someone says, can I pick the region or country that Octaply applies to? Is it only applying to jobs? Okay, he said it's applying to jobs right now. He's noticing it's applying to jobs in Mexico. And so he's asking if he can choose the region or country that Octaply is applying to for him.
Yes. So currently, with the remote flag, as long as the job is remote and it's eligible for the U.S., it will apply for it anyway. So if the job's HQ is in Mexico, but it's remote U.S. eligible, and it still applies for it. But we're actually adding in a feature that you can still restrict it to the U.S. So that won't happen. But you also have to think from an abundance perspective, because it's only been live for a week. So let's say that after 3 weeks, you want to make sure that you have enough jobs in the pool that can keep on applying. So, and when you think about an accumulation of jobs to 300 a month and you're at 600 in 2 months, you definitely want to keep your options open until you're getting so many interview offers that you kind of have to dial it back. So I definitely am on the side of just keeping your options open and allowing it to apply for multiple different types, as long as you're eligible to work for those jobs.
Yeah. All right, how do I list? Question from Ronald Williams. How do I list bootcamp experience on Octaply? It asked me how many years of experience I had, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say 0. I personally would suggest putting 1. So I would just put 1 on there. That's typically what I've done on other platforms, where if months aren't current options that you can put, I would suggest just put 1.
And also, the average years of experience, that's used when applying for applications at scale, because some applications will ask it in a different way, or they'll say, what's your average years of experience for this or that. So that's a way for us to be able to fit to the multiple different application types. For you to put in your bootcamp graduate, you could either put that in your degree section, or we also have a certification and award section. So it depends on how you look at your bootcamp from that perspective, but you can put it in either one of those sections. And after this call, honestly, I'm going to meet up with the dev team and have a section for bootcamps. But I guess when we initially made it, we didn't think to have a bootcamp section, but under the honors, certification, and award section, you can make it very clear that it is a bootcamp graduate, or put it under your degree section as well. So there's different things to do. We will add the months in, so you're not required to do it per year as well for the average experience, but it does make sense just to put 1 there.
All right. Jay Everything asks, he says, is Octaply international? I live overseas now.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of to the point. The other person was saying that they noticed that Octaply had applied to some jobs for them that are in Mexico. So yes, it is international. All right. Someone asked if we could put them in the test group. The test group was before we launched Octaply, so we don't have a test group anymore. But if we hadn't launched Octaply yet, yes, you would have been allowed in the test group. So just build a time machine and then go back and ask us that. All right. How does your product differ from using an ATS compliant resume, applicant tracking system compliant resume? I can touch on this.
So, I mean,
Go ahead.
well, you can go ahead, Cyrus. You can touch on it.
Yeah. So I would say using an applicant ATS compliant resume, essentially that is what Octaply is able to do for you, where it's able to one, it's beneficial for you because not only will the resume already be compliant, but also Octaply will be beneficial. It goes beyond just being compliant. Octaply actually is beneficial when it comes to applying to those companies for you, because Octaply is able to update your skills section to make sure that it's matching within the keywords, the main keywords that are mentioned in the job posting of that company. So it isn't just compliant. So when you ask how does it differ, I would say it's superior to a compliant, an ATS compliant resume, because it's not just compliant, it's beneficial.
And also to speak on the parsability of the resume as well, that's one thing that a lot of people seem to mess up with is they'll make their resume locally and it'll look nice, it'll do all these things. But when you're actually applying and these systems are trying to I don't want to use two big words, but parse the resume and it doesn't parse correctly. Like if you upload your resume to a job site, you're trying to apply and it doesn't fill in the boxes correctly and you have to go in and manually fix them. The same thing is happening on the back end where HR is not actually able to see a resume correctly formatted because it's not getting parsed correctly. So we made sure that when we made our resume templates that their parsability was really, really high so that they're able to see it without having to do any manual effort, or that it comes through correctly on their end.
All right. Do you have any resources for cybersecurity or QA? When you ask for resources, Tanisha, are you saying suggestions for tech boot camps or programs or certifications? I'm trying to understand your question. Do you have any resources for cybersecurity? So Octopi can apply to cybersecurity roles or manual QA roles if that's what you're asking. But resources, I don't know. Maybe just try re-asking that question a different way. All right, George Blackman says, see you saying that you collected ATS data is great. I feel like that's the most challenging part of getting success in callbacks. Yeah, exactly. I agree. All right. Is it a website that you can do a walkthrough if you haven't already today? Are you asking for like a walkthrough of Octaply, or you want to see like a demo of it? So we are going to release a demo video. I'll post one next week. We do have like examples or demo videos we'll be able to post for everyone. Okay. How do you manage the AI with choosing specific roles and titles and not applying to none or non? For example, sales engineering roles. I don't know why I'm struggling with these questions right now. Yeah, George Blackman, I'll read it one more time. How do you manage the AI with choosing a specific role titles and not applying to non, for example, sales engineering roles? I don't know. Does that question make sense to y'all?
Yeah. So it's the way that the platform is set up, it's going to search for the job title that you give it. So let's say that you put in senior software sales engineer, something of that nature. It takes that and then it searches the database of jobs for matching titles and things of that nature. So you're able to put in the specific role that you want from an input box. So it's not like a drop down. You can literally type in your specific role. And that's how we were able to cater to, every different type of job. Let's say you're a construction manager. Let's say that you do, you're a full stack developer. Let's say you're software sales. Let's say that you're a pre-sales engineer. Whatever you do, you can just type in your job role and it'll search for those jobs for you. And you can also change that anytime. You can change it of a frequency up to once a day. So let's say that you want to apply for senior sales engineer roles for 1 week, and then you want to try to apply for product owner roles next week or every other day or something of that nature to kind of spread yourself out. You can do that as well.
All right, we got a question from cashflow.kevo. He says, was this built using ChatGPT API or your own proprietary language? I will give a quick answer. Chris will give a more robust answer because I can't answer this as well as he can. I would say both. So definitely our own software, our own proprietary software, as well as open AI that exists already. That's my quick answer. Now, Chris will come to y'all with the more robust answer.
Yeah, so ChatGPT,
without giving all the sauce away.
ChatGPT is a very large language model, and it's so far ahead of others because of all the people that are using it, making it smarter. That's why it was free at first. That's why a lot of the AI products are free, because they get smarter and get better as people use them. It's one of the few times, in the economy that we have the best, newest products that are all actually being offered for free, because it benefits the owners of the products to offer it for free. But I say that to say that local language models are going to be less trained than that of like a ChatGPT, unless you need it for a specific use case or a specific thing. But to also touch on the other end of that spectrum, it would be impossible to use like GPT API keys or API pools to do that at scale. Meaning it would be too expensive to use like a public language model like ChatGPT to do the search every time for people. So we had to build our own local language model that was specific to this use case to be able to use that without getting charged every time. So we do have our own local solution, but we also do use other public resources as well to kind of bring everything together.
Great question. And a great answer, Chris. So, all right. So Jay asks, is the discount still available? No, so there is not a discount that is available through us anymore. So we did offer the discount for the first week of release, just as something to offer those who were early adopters or the first adopters that were testing it out. All right, Reese asks, got in late. Can you discuss no, I'm sorry, we're not talking about boot camps right now. We're talking about Octopi. But we can tell you that, and this will be kind of like a quick spoiler for some of y'all. We can tell you that some boot camps are going to be offering Octaply, but knowing that many of you have already done boot camps, you will just be able to start using Octaply right now. And that's like a quick spoiler for some of y'all that are on here. All right, question from Mario, the homie. He said, how do I become an affiliate? Is that available? If not, do you have a timeline for an affiliate program launch? I got you, bro. I'll hit you up personally. If I don't hit you up by this evening, please just shoot me a text message tomorrow. That'll be dope. Yeah, Mario actually, he did it. I said Mario. Mario did a boot camp. He's somebody I've known for years, way before I was in tech. And he did a boot camp and is now working in tech. And now he's also helping people get in tech as well. So that's dope. I appreciate you for looking out, just giving back to other people. All right. So question from Brian Smith. Brian asks, so Octopi creates a new resume for every role dynamically. How would one reference the particular resume that was pulled? So I guess first we're going to talk about the first question. So again, he asks, Octopi creates a new resume for every role dynamically.
So I'll answer that. So Octopi doesn't retailer the entire resume for each job post. It only takes the keywords, like the anchoring points of each job description, and puts that in your skills section on your resume, and tailors the skills section to fit that of the job, because that's what HR is looking for. They're looking for those keywords to actually pull your resume on the other end of things. And we decided not to, and kind of like we never really had it in the design to retailer the entire resume, because your experience is your experience. And anytime that you change your experience to match a job that wasn't really your experience, and that's kind of like, that would be in like the grade of lying about the job. So the skills section that is matching the job, the jobs that your resume should already be able to match or comprehend with, was the best like middle ground to make our tool compliant and to make sure that we weren't doing something malicious.
Good stuff. And the second part of his question is, how would one reference the particular resume that was pulled? So I'm assuming what you're mentioning, Brian, is, okay, so you get set up on an interview, like Octopi applies to a company, and you get an interview based off of Octopi applying to that role and based off of that resume. So you're asking, how would someone reference the specific resume that was pulled?
Yeah, so we don't actually give you guys the ability to generate or reference a resume for every single job just because it's only changing the skills section. If it was changing your entire resume, then absolutely. You don't want to go on a job and not know, what your experience is saying. But since we're only adding the skills that, like I said, should be already relevant in your resume because you should be applying to jobs that are within your studied field or within your career field already, then this is just helping your resume become more visible. To give you an example of like a full stack engineer, you can do everything from front end HTML to back end Python. But let's say that your last role, you focus mostly on Python. So most of your job keywords may be focusing just on Python. But when you're doing full stack development work, you do touch front end. You do HTML. These things are very easy to you. But let's say that this particular particular full stack engineering role, they touch more on HTML and CSS than they did on the back end stuff because that was where they needed that person to focus. So let's say that you're more than qualified, you were doing the harder stuff than what they needed, but because you didn't have HTML and CSS keywords in your resume didn't get pulled with the others. So that's a really good example of why the keywords, in combination with ensuring that people represent themselves accurately, are what makes Octaply what it is.
Good stuff. And just a heads up, everyone, we are going to, at least I'm going to stay on at least until 2 o'clock. So this will be shutting down at 2. Not sure if Tori and Chris will be able to hang out until 2 o'clock, but at least letting you all know that we are going to be on here until 2. So we're going to still try to get to as many questions as y'all asked. Some great questions. That being said, got another question in here on Instagram from Scars Make Stars. How does Octaply AI help us do our current job better?
I mean,
To that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's a productivity tool too. So the fact that we're infusing AI technology and it understands the job that you're applying for and your current job position. So when you're filling out the resume, the AI is already reading that resume and understanding what your current job role is and seeing what jobs it can use or seek to put you in a better position for better employment. Along with that, this is a sneak peek, I guess I can say, into the next tier. You will get access to a AI-powered coach in a sense. And this tool will understand your current job, your future projected job employment, understand the things that need to be done within that job, and assist you and be that hands-on coach to make you more productive within that job. So assisting you with any third-party tools you can use in your current job model, assisting you with any third-party resources you can use in that job model, assisting you with any third-party parties or third-party persons within that job model to make your job more efficient and better, which of course at scale, especially when you're working in tech, especially when it's remote and you're at home, you don't have anyone to hold your hand. You don't have anyone to assist you. You don't have anyone to assist you with those weekly productivity Zoom calls. It's just you. With our tool, our AI is assisting you with that. So it's not only making you a better fit or a better candidate for future jobs, it's making you more efficient and productive and more optimized within your current job also.
All right. Good answer. And question from Always. Good afternoon. Is there more than one tier available? When I signed up, I saw only a premier tier. Thank you.
So we are bringing out the other tiers. We're just trying to make sure that the tiers we bring out fit the product offering and are beneficial to you guys, of course, because not only is delivering a viable product is important, considering the price point with our audience, this is also very important too. So we're structuring things at the price point, the product offering, the things that will be inclusive and exclusive to the product. So just stay tuned, sign up for the base tier, because I can tell you nonetheless that is the lowest valuable tier and that these other 2-3 tiers are going to be way higher value wise and also price wise than this tier alone. So just sign up and stay on board.
Tanisha Davis clarified earlier. She said yes for roles and certifications. So yes, Octopi is, again, I'm trying to make sure I'm answering this properly. Octopi, definitely you can specify which roles that it is applying to for you. When you're referencing certifications for quality analysts, Octopi. So something. This is a feature that we are going to be rolling out very soon, and we're going to constantly be adding new features, making Octopi more and more robust. One of the things that we're going to be offering is Octopi suggesting certifications or boot camp experience or some type of experience or knowledge to make your resume, make your work history much more robust. Because again, one of the things, Octopi cannot guarantee anyone a job the same way a college or a boot camp cannot guarantee anyone a job. But where Octopi differs in those programs is that those programs give you a certain amount of education, but those programs do not go out of their way to actually get you a job. Octopi is the platform that goes out of its way times 10 to get you those interviews. Of course, you still have to perform in your interviews, but unfortunately, the same way that a boot camp gives you the education but doesn't get you the job or get you the interviews, Octopi, it can help get you the interviews, but it is also limited by Octopi's only limitation is you. Its only limitation is us as individuals. So that's the only thing it's limited by. So the more certifications you have, the more robust your work history, the more transferable skills you have, whether you have a degree, whatever that is, the more robust you are, the more efficiently Octopi is able to land you more interviews at a higher level with higher level companies. So one of the features we are going to roll out with Octopi in the near future is Octopi being able to suggest, based on on an individual basis, suggest certain types of education or certifications, or maybe a boot camp that it would suggest that someone would do. But again, that'll be case by case. There are many of you where Octopi will say, hey, you're totally good. Octopi is going to go ahead and get started and start applying to jobs for you. And then there are other people where Octopi will say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and start applying to these jobs for you. In the meantime, based on the role that you want to work in, based on your work history, based on like your lack of degree or lack of certifications or lack of experience, these are some of the suggestions that I encourage you to beef up your skill set as I'm applying to jobs for you. And the beauty of it is that once you get that, let's say it's a quick certification, it might take like a week to get like maybe a Google certification, or you mentioned cybersecurity earlier. So I'll say a security plus a certification. Once you get that, you add that information to Octopi, and now Octopi includes that, now that's included to your resume. It's able to be included in your skill section. And now Octopi is able to include that when it's reaching out to companies and applying to jobs for you. So again, able to beef you up.
But also, I know somebody within HR at a really big tech company, one of the biggest tech companies, and she basically said, like, per job post, they're getting thousands of applicants. So Octopi, like I said, I asked her very plainly, off the records, like, to get 1,000 job applications, how many of those are you checking? How many of those are you actually looking at? She said probably the top 5 to 10%. Like, there's just no reason to go into the hundreds. So what Octopi is doing is you're going to be in that top 5%. So we're increasing your chances of HR actually seeing your resume and reviewing it tenfold. So we've actually gotten feedback from someone that's saying, hey, I'm getting denied like fast. And I'm like, yeah, because HR is viewing your resume and they're just deciding to move forward one way or another. It is what it is. But there's been plenty of times you apply for a job and you get an email back 3 weeks later saying they're going to the next round because they never even reviewed your resume. That's a generic way for them to say that they never reviewed your resume. Depending on the job, it changes and things of that nature. But that's definitely like one of the guarantees that we tried to make sure we built into the functionalities, that we learned different systems. We wanted to make sure that you're getting a fair chance at that job. And a fair chance means a human is probably going to look at your resume and decide whether or not they want to go forward. But for so many people getting stuck in the pile and not even getting that manual review, that's one of the biggest barriers we wanted to overcome.
All right, Edwin, I'm not sure if I understand your question. I'll ask it, or I'll read it either way, and maybe Chris or Tori understands it. He says, so I understand the first part. You said, so are the roles from Indeed, I'm asking, due to fact of fraud job rec? And I'm not sure what you mean by that, due to the fact of fraud job rec.
What is it? I don't know.
Yes, say that again.
He said, so are the roles from Indeed, I'm asking, due to fact of fraud job rec?
We don't rely on just Indeed for jobs. Some of them are Indeed, but it's not the sole place where we get jobs from.
Yeah. All right. So what should you do to get in cybersecurity? So yeah, this isn't really a stream where answering like how to get a certain job in tech. But to answer this question, I would say that if you don't have a degree in cybersecurity, or if you've not done a boot camp, a cybersecurity boot camp, I would encourage doing a cybersecurity boot camp. That being said, if you've already done that and you're just out here applying or trying to get a job, then I would say use Octopi. Allow Octopi to do the work for you to get you those interviews. And of course, just tell Octopi you want a cybersecurity role, fill everything out. Octopi will get started to to getting you set up on to reaching out to companies so that way you can get set up on some cybersecurity interviews?
Yeah, whatever you do, I just wouldn't get a cybersecurity degree. That's the one thing I would not do. So if you have not started on that track, go to a boot camp, get certifications to get into cybersecurity. Do not get a cybersecurity degree, or get a CS degree at least, or something. If you want to get a degree in something, just don't get a cybersecurity degree, because it won't help you in anything outside of cybersecurity, and it won't help you much with getting into cybersecurity either, because you'll need to go and get the certifications right alongside the people that went to the boot camp, and it doesn't give you as much value in that field as it does in others.
Yeah. All right. So George Blackman, I love this question that you asked. You said when Octaply changes the keywords on each resume, do you see that affecting the chances in landing a role? Yes, I would say yes. That's the purpose of it. So that way your resume ranks higher. It allows you to rank higher as a candidate for that role and increases your visibility with that company. And in turn, you getting interviews. But the next part of your question, you say, is that your concern is that Octopi will list a skill on your resume that you don't have. So Octopi is not going to lie for you on your behalf. What it will do is that it takes your experience, your work history, all the information that you provide to Octopi about who you are, about what you've done, and understand that your resume is limited in terms of the amount of space that can be on your resume. Now, mind you, you can have a 3-page resume if you want to, but that's not encouraged. And in doing that, like just having that many pages of resume is not good. So instead, Octopi doesn't add things in your skills section that are skills you don't actually have. Octopi just prioritizes which skills to be on in your skills section that matter the most to that company. Because if you're applying to, if Octopi is applying to a sales engineering role for you, and maybe, on your resume, maybe you have a skill set of, maybe you know how to, C++. Now, of course, you don't have to code to be a sales engineer, but some companies want you to know a programming language. So let's say you're proficient in C++, Python, and let's say JavaScript. But the job posting, a keyword in the job posting says that they're just looking for someone who knows Python. They don't care about C++. They don't care about JavaScript, just Python. And again, this is just an example. I'm not saying this is exactly like an actual example, but it's just to kind of help you understand. Octopi, instead of it including all of those random keywords on there of C++ and Java, when the company only cares about Python, Octopi instead will prioritize other keywords based on your skill set and work history. Will prioritize those things that matter to the company instead of skills that don't matter to that company. So please let me know. I said a lot there. Please let me know, George, if that makes sense. All right. Next question. Do you all schedule calls to help those new in tech? Yes. Yeah. So just hit me up on either on LinkedIn or Instagram and just say that you want to book a one-on-one or some type of call. Or same thing with I believe Chris does coaching calls every now and again as well whenever he's available. So I would probably say same thing with Chris.
Yeah, I'm gonna start going live on the Octopi page sometimes, and just randomly when I have pockets of time, just to answer questions about my corporate career, getting into cybersecurity, my opinion on boot camps, certifications, the best path to get into corporate, where I would go to make the most amount of money, where you could go if you want to stack. I can answer a lot of different questions. So I'll start going live more and being more interactive with that.
Okay, cool. All right. Tarico Sparrow asks, what other roles are you guys looking to fill to complete the team of Octopi? So right now we're fine team-wise. Nevertheless, of course, as we grow, as more people are using Octopi and more revenues coming in, we are going to, of course, use that revenue to build out our team further, just build out our team just kind of in a standard way. I don't want to kind of go too much into this. I want to honor the questions that people have specifically about Octopi. But some of those roles will include tech sales roles. Some of them might include some developer roles. Right now, we are fine when it comes to developers, but that could change in the future as we grow and scale. Get some of these. All right, we got a couple minutes left, y'all. So Brian Smith asks, he says, thanks for answering. Great stuff. Business question. What type of team setup do you employ? How long was the development? How long was the development to development? Overseas outsourcing team. Okay. If we I'm gonna try to get to these other questions first. I'm not trying to kind kind of like shrug you off, Brian, but we want to make sure we're answering questions specifically just about Octopi. We definitely want to answer questions like what you're asking as well. Again, we're just limited on, now just a minute left. All right.
We got two. It says, does Octopi apply for jobs on LinkedIn? We chose not to focus on that platform. There are a few different scenarios where it will, but we didn't want to possibly get people's accounts banned. The automation on LinkedIn is like, LinkedIn is the very important page if you're a professional. So we don't want to risk that.
Yeah. All right. Over here on Instagram, Trigger Trail says, is it just a one-time fee? I'm assuming you're talking about the setup fee. Yes, the setup fee is a one-time fee. You said, and also, will there need to be any maintenance updating on your resume before applying?
I missed the first part of that, but I answered the second part.
I missed the first question. He was asking, is the setup fee a one-time fee? And I said, yes, it is. And he said, also, would there need to be any maintenance or updating on your resume before applying?
No. Once you go through the setup process and you fill in your resume and then it rephrases it so that it reworded it to your standard. After that, the job apply bot just starts, and it only stops whenever you stop it yourself or pause it, or you can go back through and change your resume yourself anytime.
All right, y'all. So we are at time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I see a lot more questions that we weren't able to get to. So that being said, please list your questions. If you head over to the Instagram page for Octopi, head to the Instagram page and DM your questions to the Instagram page of Octopi. Again, the Instagram page is octaply.ai. And that's OCTAPLY. I was about to embarrass myself not being able to spell it. So it's octaply.ai. And just send your questions there, and we'll make sure that we get those questions answered for you. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And thank you, Chris and Tori. Thank y'all for y'all's time coming on here, answering the questions with the community.
No problem.
All right, y'all. And again, to sign up to register for Octopi AI and have Octopi start applying to jobs for you right now, just make sure that you go to octaply.ai/register and go ahead and sign up and allow Octopi to begin applying to jobs for you today. Octopi, again, it does 10 companies a day for you. That's roughly 300 companies a month. And so the beauty of that is I always tell people that I applied to about 300 jobs before I got my first job in tech. And I was applying aggressively and I was going crazy. And it took me 2 months to land that job, which was significantly faster for me than most people. Most people, it takes them about 5 or 6 months to apply to 300 companies. Octopi is able to do that for you in 1 month. And so I love that. So again, go to octaply.ai/register to go ahead and get started today to allow Octopi to start beginning to apply to jobs for you. Love y'all. Thank y'all for everybody tuning in. Make sure you send your questions to the octaply.ai Instagram page. We'll see y'all later.
Peace.